Infuriating, baffling, beautiful, and fun, there is no film like Last Year at Marienbad. Yet there are many films where we feel its echoes. The film is nearly plotless. The writer and director both claimed it had no plot, but watching it you feel this nagging need to explain what's happening. The movie's power isn't just a postmodern need for meaning, it's also a pretty cool human desire for connection. It's a conversation starter in the best way, if you can get past its ridiculous, surreal nature. Roger Ebert once reminisced about students standing in lines in the rain, impatient to see Last Year in Marienbad. Pauline Kael complained that Marienbad was all anybody could talk about at parties for months. And I can empathize. I remember at a college party in 1995 somebody saying, "What's the best movie you've seen this year? Besides Pulp Fiction." The soundtrack from that film was so ubiquitous I didn't buy a copy for 10 years because I knew it would be playing for free wherever I went. To a lesser extent, something similar happened with Inception. The film was debated hotly for about 4 weeks until Avatar was released and the gorgeous but thin and pretentious Inception was replaced by the gorgeous and overtly dumb Avatar. Zeitgeist is a heck of a drug. So, why were people obsessed with discussing this pretentious film back in 1961? A rambling, repetitive, plotless movie. I'd say that some later echoes help unlock that, but first we should probably deal with what actually happens in it.
Hiroshima.
We are introduced to an enormous, rambling, sometimes beautiful and sometimes tacky hotel, presumably in Marienbad. The movie is guided by a voiceover. 2, actually. A man pleading with a woman to remember events 1 year earlier at Marienbad where they were lovers, and the woman protesting she has no idea what he's talking about. There's also a second man, probably the woman's husband. I'm just going to call him the antagonist, although even that's not really clear. From a cynical point of view, Marienbad just embroiders on director Alain Resnais' previous and first film, Hiroshima Mon Amour, where a survivor of Vichy France becomes the lover of a survivor of the Hiroshima bombing, and they tussle over their parallel traumatic memories. But here that specific historic context is stripped away, and we're left with the trauma but no framework with which to understand it. The man and the woman are strangers to us.
Everybody's got a special kind of story.
Some critics have suggested that this means that something truly awful happened between the man and the woman last year at Marienbad, and they're dealing with amnesiatic PTSD. I don't find that reading particularly interesting, partly because there are so many other readings available, and the multiplicity of readings is central to what Last Year at Marienbad is made of. Over the course of their discussions, we get elaborate gambling games in the casino, a wildly popular floor show, empty hallways, trysts, and possibly murders in hotel rooms, lonely walks in the Versailles-style gardens. All of these can be read in a multitude of ways. At one point, the antagonist enters the woman's hotel room where she's making weird romantic gestures, and he shoots her. We see that she is dead, and then she has a long conversation with the narrator, who said he preferred her as a living woman. So who is the narrator? Is he a ghost? The devil? Death itself? Maybe the couple are in purgatory, maybe they're dealing with being killed by the woman's husband last year. Cobrier said in an interview that the pistol shot was simply there as an emotional moment and had no real meaning beyond shocking the audience.
Mais le rôle de ce coup de pistolet est, si vous voulez, de produire un choc.
I think he was fibbing. I don't want to talk about Chekhov's gun. If there was ever a film devoted to not giving you setups and payoffs, this is it. Roger Ebert put forth a plausible suggestion that the narrator is the film's writer-director, changing his mind nervously and reversing decisions throughout the writing process.
Cette fin-là n'est pas la bonne. C'est vous vivante qu'il me faut.
That idea is backed up by the fact that the massively popular hotel floor show, which empties all hallways, stairways, and bedrooms, and makes possible the trysts and maybe the murder, is made up of phrases from the protagonist and his lover debating their past in Marienbad. So maybe this is all about revising your work.
Coming around, baby.
But that random hotel shooting does remind me of Jim Jarmusch's film Mystery Train. That movie, made of several interconnected stories, is tied together by a mysterious gunshot in a cheap Memphis hotel. Eventually we find out who shot who and why, but the gunshot is the linchpin tying the disparate stories together. That movie is worth watching, by the way. Marienbad goes the opposite direction. The gunshot may or may not be important.
C'est un élément émotionnel pur.
Someone, the female narrator, was probably shot, and we see her dead, but then we see her up and ambulatory. Are these people ghosts?
C'est en somme une reprise du vieux mythe d'Eurydice.
Or did the author scrap the murder idea and just move on? The Overlook Hotel in the classic Kubrick Stephen King horror film The Shining looms heavily while watching this. Not just the long, empty hallways and overly opulent decor and the French-style gardens, it's also the people. When we see other guests, as in The Shining, there are really only 3 characters living in this space: the man, the woman, and the antagonist. The film opens with several minutes of tracking shots over carpets and metal railings and doorways before a single character appears, but no, just kidding, he's an extra, he's gone now. In The Shining, we get minutes of lonely Colorado wilderness. In both cases, a sense of isolation is being built up. And like in The Shining, anybody else the protagonist meets is doing nothing, either in the lobby or at a performance or even at a card table. These static others haunt the hotel. In The Shining, the others are obviously long-dead ghosts who may or may not be in the protagonist's mind. In Marienbad, they are more problematic. The 3 main characters never interact with the other patrons, and at times, anybody who's not in a major role appears to have been painted onto the background. Last Year at Marienbad takes place in a haunted house, but we don't know which people are the ghosts. Probably not a movie that pops to mind when you're thinking about Last Year in Marienbad. Linklater's Sunrise trilogy actually bears an eerie resemblance. His first film, Before Sunrise, has Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy enjoying a great night out together in Vienna, but they agree not to consummate their relationship. They're going to wait 1 year and meet on the same train platform. Marienbad's protagonists make a very similar pledge, the woman begging just to wait 1 year.
Il nous faut encore attendre. Quelques minutes encore, plus que quelques minutes, quelques secondes.
Quelques secondes, d'accord.
The film ends with the man appearing on the stairs on time 1 year later and locking eyes with the woman. But we've just seen this whole film, and we know it's going to take 90 minutes of him trying to persuade her of what happened last year for their love to triumph. In Linklater's second film, the couple argue about if they did or didn't have sex on that fateful night in Vienna, just like the couple in Marienbad. Turns out they did. In both films, the persistence of delayed gratification, broken promises, and hazy memories is key.
Past is the past. It was meant to be that way.
Okay, this is a stretch, but it illustrates my point. In Top Hat, Ginger Rogers' ridiculous, if glorious dance outfit for Cheek to Cheek was so notorious on set that Fred Astaire nicknamed her Feathers. There's a similar extravagant outfit in Marienbad. But in Marienbad, we are told repeatedly that all hotels are the same, all love affairs are the same, all negligees are the same. But we already know that this hotel is not normal in any way. It's gigantic, labyrinthine, surrounded by world-class gardens. And as for negligees, the woman appears repeatedly in this feathered white outfit that recalls Ginger Rogers' absurd but amazing dress. In contrast, she also appears briefly in a normal negligee that a normal human being might wear. What do I get from this? All hotels are not the same. All negligees are not the same. Ergo, all love affairs are not the same. The narrator is lying to us. In the interview mentioned earlier, Robbe-Grillet says that the film tries to capture the present. The past and future do not exist.
C'est comme si c'était un temps sans temporalité, un temps qui n'était pas fait d'un passé, d'un présent et d'un futur, mais un temps qui ne pouvait admettre que le présent. Encore une fois, ici et maintenant, hors d'ici, il n'y a rien, hors de maintenant, il n'y a jamais rien eu, il n'y aura jamais rien.
Pretty ironic in a film where last year is in the title, and the dialogue is mostly arguing about the future. Like everybody else who's seen this film, I do not have the answers. I don't think Resnais had the answers. It's all very beautiful, and if you have the patience for a pure art experiment, it's very entertaining. For me, I think it's a film about the present moment. We really don't know what was in the past. Memories edit, photos edit, writing edits. We can try to push for our ideal future, but what we really have is now. And if the narrator in Marienbad has a fatal flaw, it's his inability to live now, instead of in the past and the future.
Alors, ce film est fait pour être vu, est fait pour être senti, est fait pour être aimé. Ce n'est que un peu en plus, si vous voulez, qu'il est fait pour être compris.